Hey, what is up everybody? My name is Michael, or Kiratze Online. Hopefully you guys are having a great day, and I'm back with the gameplay portion of our decking around with Soulshatter Aggro, or Soulshatter Zoo. If you haven't seen the deck tech for that, or the build of that, it is the last video in my YouTube channel, so you can check that out if you want, or if you are interested in sort of what my thoughts were in building the deck and sort of my choices on the cards. If you want to see a quick glance of the deck, here it is, Soulshatter Zoo. We're running 3 Void Pulses, 2 Lures, 3 Dream Gazers, 3 Flameblood Warlocks, 3 Healing Mystics, 3 Jaxi, 3 Primus Fist, 2 Soulshatter Pact, 3 Chaos Elementals, 3 Knights or Assassins, 1 Rite of the Undervault, 3 Saber Spines, 3 Dancing Blades, 2 Shadow Dancers, and 2 Spectral Revenants. And the idea for the deck is essentially just a basic zoo deck. Flood the board early on and try and cash in Soulshatter packs for a large amount of damage. Otherwise, you can use it for trades, for more efficient trading, and eventually you can start finishing your opponent off with out-of-hand damage and just board presence. So that is that, and I actually switched things up a bit. I decided to just play a couple of games, and then we'll do the replays of that. Sort of shortens up the video time and also just helps in just the gameplay portion. I can concentrate more on the game, even though I think my last game had a very, very large misplay, if I remember correctly. But let's just jump into it. And we are at silver rank, so until I get to the higher ranks, the quality of the games might not be super high tier, just because we are going to be playing against a wide range of people, since it's a new season and everyone's lower ranks. But regardless, these aren't meant to show super top tier gameplay. These are just meant to showcase the deck in a gameplay situation, and just so we can get an idea for the deck. So I decided to mulligan off the Shadow Dancer. Shadow Dancer is pretty good when we have some early drops to start cashing in, especially going second. We have that extra mana to get Shadow Dancer out pretty early. But otherwise, I'd rather look for other things. We get against a Vanar, and sadly we have no Grasp of Agonies in this matchup, but that's all right. We'll get to my first impressions on the deck afterwards, and we'll see where we can adjust the deck to sort of make things work a little better. So he has a turn 2 play, and I replace Spectral Revenant because we're not going to play that anytime soon. Drawn to a Void Pulse, which is alright because Vanar is an aggro deck more often than not, but it's not really super huge against them in terms of other than just giving us a little bit of sustain and a little bit of healing. So we're not really looking towards using that now, but we have a turn. We have a good play of getting 2 bodies out for the price of 1. Jaxi can sometimes suck against Vanar because they have the Chromatic Cold, effectively dealing with Jaxi at an equal cost. And here, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to place my minions, and I misplayed pretty hardcore. I haven't seen Crystal Cloaker in a really long time, and really I should have just placed it here, or placed it in a way where it couldn't get that Infiltrate off. That way, at least it can't just get a free kill off on Healing Mystic and become 4 attack. So that was pretty big misplay on my part. These 2 games, even though there's loads of misplays in them, I want to keep things, as honest as possible, and it's really just to show you guys the first 2 games I play with the deck, regardless of if they're bad or good. So we get owned here, but this sort of helps in just not letting him build up his board, and we get to sort of take initiative from here, which is really, really nice. And we get a really good draw. We get Chaos Elemental, which is a good early game body. This is the reason why we play it. When you're playing it in the open board like this, it's very good at threatening your opponent's next plays. I don't know if it's just me or that is really loud. So we got to block off one of the mana tiles, and we got to threaten whatever he plays next. If he wants to try and push this somewhere else, he has to hit it with his face, so it puts him in a pretty awkward position. We have Knights or Assassin that effectively deal with Fenrir if it comes down this turn, because we denied it last turn. He's playing Repulsor Beast, so it's obviously more of a control deck, it seems like, for Vanar. And control Vanar is very interesting. He has no other turn 2 play though, so he wants to protect this mana tile to invest in next turn. But we're all right. Chaos Elemental is coming back for the battle. We don't need to out-of-hand damage yet, so I replace Flameblood Warlock here. Knights or Assassin and Saber Spine are both good at just controlling the board, or being more aggressive if we need to. And I keep Soulshatter Pact just because we're pretty good at just having the initiative here. And I want to just start pressuring him and building up a board to cash in that Soulshatter Pact. So I don't really have a great play here. I can kill off the Repulsor Beast just with my face, and I decide to, since he is trying to build towards that mana tile next turn possibly, it's best to just deny him that. I can use my body, my general, just to block off the bottom tile. Unless he plays 2 minions, you can't get access to it. And so here I'm able to take the top mana tile. And I don't decide to attack in because, again, in the early game, we want board control. We just want to threaten him. If he wants to expend more resources like Chromatic Colds on this, that's perfectly fine with me. But I'm just going to keep it there just to threaten whatever he plays next, if it is a Fenrir or something like that, because it's very likely he's just going to use his own face to trade in with it anyways, so it's not a huge deal just leaving it on the board like this to threaten stuff, because he's going to probably trade with it anyway, so it's going to get the same amount of damage, and just this gives us the option of potentially threatening something else if he happens to ignore it. So he's playing Murkblood Devourer, so I thought it was a control deck. It is not. It is sort of a weird zoo control deck. I don't know. This is what I mean by the quality of games. So we don't really have much going on here. But we have double Night Star Assassin to take care of these two things, and it's perfectly fine with me. Realistically, I was hoping to just, have Chaos Elemental come towards us, develop the 2 Night Star Assassins, put him in a position where potentially all 3 of our things can hit him, and then just cast and Soulshatter Pact the next turn with Saber Spine and just pretty much kill him dead on that turn. So I decided just Night Star, kill off both of his threats, and I want to place him in a spot since my general can just stay here, still block off that mana tile if we need it next turn. I can spread my stuff out if he happens to play, I don't know, like Aspect of the Mountain or something. So we get to kill off his things. We have board control. The most he can do is kill off one of these. If he wants a Chromatic Cold another one, that's perfectly fine with me as usual. We're still in ahead on board, and we're very, very threatening because these represent 10 damage. So this is what sort of this deck wants to do. You don't need a lot on board. You just want at least 2 minions to have an effective amount of damage with mana cost for Soulshatter Pact. We get Deathblighted. Was not really expecting that, so obviously I didn't really play around it. So a little bit of an awkward position. I figure we're at 5 cards. I'm not going to bother using Rite of the Undervault anytime soon, and we're not really looking for anything at the moment. Right now, I want to just place. I just want to get Dancing Blades out there because it's a very tough to deal with threat when they don't have a board developed, and that represents 6 damage with Soulshatter Pact, which is a lot. So I decided to just hit the Deathblighter. Alternatively, I could have just used Chaos Elemental to kill it off, but I'd rather just keep Chaos Elemental close by and not risk having it ported over here. So I decided to just hit it with my face and then Dancing Blades, because the next turn we can do Soulshatter with Saber Spine, which is a huge amount of damage. So that's 4, 7 with Dancing Blades. It's what? 4, 7, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 damage, and potentially, depending on where he moves, Chaos Elemental might be able to get some damage in as well. So that is sort of what you want. Just Soulshatter Pact, just have big turns with Soulshatter Pact. We have Flamebloods, we have Spectral Revenant, we have Void Pulses. There is a lot of ways to do out-of-hand damage. So if you can get them in range at just 5 health or something from within dying, like Flameblood Warlocks and Void Pulses, this is what you want. You're just trying to get incremental value over the course of the early to mid game and try and just be proactive. Knowing when to cash in those Soulshatter Pacts at the right time, it's the hardest part of probably playing a deck like this. And obviously just worrying about potentially getting your board removed the next turn, but very tough for him to deal with these kinds of threats. And luckily we pull out the Lure. This is the reason why we have Lure in the deck. But obviously, depending on how, this is obviously a very rare circumstance. Vanna rarely plays any Provoke, if any at all. So normally this wouldn't happen anyways. So in situations like this, Grasp of Agony might work well because they'll usually just play a whole bunch of small minions to block things off. But here you can see sort of just the mass amount of damage you can have when you're playing just a couple of mid-sized bodies along with Soulshatter Pacts. This was huge amounts of overkill. And this is the kind of stuff you want. So once you start getting control of the game early to mid, you're sort of playing almost in the same style of Songhai, where you're trying to look for that out-of-hand damage and sort of build up to these kinds of turns. Because Abyssian has tons of ways to deal damage from out of hand, and they have a lot of burn, they have a lot of burst. So those are the kinds of things you want in a deck like this. So let's go on to the next game. The next game we are playing against a Abyssian deck. I don't remember what kind of Abyssian this was. I don't think it was Swarm. But you guys will see. So we have Chaos Elemental and we have Jaxi. So this is a really good start, we can play Chaos Elemental at the start just to have a big body threaten, and then next turn we can go Jaxi Primus Fist if we don't have access to one of the Mana Tiles, which is pretty common. Alternatively, we could also have just played Jaxi Primus Fist, but that kind of play is much more susceptible to stuff like Grasp of Agony with that kind of opener. So that's something we don't want to. Oh right, it was a Shadow Nova deck. And this is a kind of deck where I think it goes really well against Shadow Nova. We have a lot of different threats we can just spread out across the board to make Shadow Nova much more ineffective, and we have a lot of burst and a lot of pressure that we can put on our opponent. So here he opts to potentially get Chaos Elemental on a good spawn where he can finish it off. He decides to play Ephemeral Shroud because he obviously doesn't want to dispel Chaos Elemental because that would be sort of a buff. And we get not a great spawn, but it's in a place where it can be protected, and we can just use our General to kill off the Ephemeral Shroud. So this is why Chaos Elemental is, like, in the early game, it's just so good, and the downside isn't even that bad. It's because you're going to have a lot of time just to run Chaos Elemental back to the fight and get into it, and it's always a threat your opponent's going to have to worry about. So, like, we were able to kill off something, and then now it can potentially kill off something else, or get in 4 damage or 6 damage with Soulshatter packed. It's just a sort of an ever-present threat, and the RNG can go really in your favor a lot of the time. So here we have the ability to just sort of take control of the board. I want to deny him just running up to the Mana Tile. So I decided to place Jaxi and Primus Fist here. Alternatively, I could have buffed up Chaos Elemental as well, but it would have allowed him to run up and deal with the Mana Tile if he so choose. And I wanted to try and place things in a way where it wouldn't get totally blown out by Grasp of Agony. So I could have placed Jaxi here, Primus Fist here, but again, that was a pretty risky play with like Spectral Blade and Grasp of Agony combo or something like that. Void Pulses are all right in the Abyssian matchup. It gives us a little bit of healing, a little bit of ways to keep pressuring our opponent. But at this stage of the game, they're not super important, so we're going to be looking for swapping those out for like a Dancing Blaze or something like that because we're coming up on turn 5. Abyssal Juggernaut, so he's obviously playing a slower control version of Shadow Nova, but I'm really not a huge fan of Abyssal Juggernaut. It's not really... It doesn't do enough. It's just way too slow, and really Abyssal Crawler and Shadow Nova are the only creep cards you actually need. So here, we just want to start pressuring him. Since I know he's playing a Shadow Nova deck, we do want to try and create as much pressure as we can. Just build up to a board where you can finish him off with Soulshatter Pact or Flameblood Warlocks and all of our out-of-hand damage. So here, I want to try and deny him as much value out of Abyssal Crawler. He put us in a little bit of an awkward situation where he might get some value off of it. But I decide to just run our things into him. Now, I could have actually... I think I take 3 damage here. I'm trying to remember. I think I could have done this a little bit better. Yeah. Looking back, this was sort of a misplay. I did pretty badly this game. Realistically, I should have... Rather than just put in the damage and take 3 to the face, I wanted to use Dancing Blaze to finish this guy off. So I could have saved myself a little bit of damage. And... I could save myself 4 damage, actually, because I have to run on the Mana Tile now to actually hit this. What I should have done was just run Jaxi up here, kill Abyssal Crawler, or hit Juggernaut, run Primus Fist to Juggernaut, and then I could have just played Dancing Blades. This puts me a little bit more in line with him, but still, sort of a misplay there. I'm not too worried about my health. Like, I am going to be taking a little bit of damage, but we are mostly worried about just pressure. And I still would have developed Jackie. So yeah, that was a little bit of a misplay on my part. I think it would have been better if I did it the other way. But we still have a lot of pressure going on. He's going to use Allure to finish off my Jaxi. It's perfectly fine. We're at a stage of the game where it's he only has 5 mana to work things, to do things with. So he doesn't have much else that he's able to do. So he decides to just Void Pulse, get some healing. I have to take an extra damage because I'm on the Shadow Nova tile, but I know he can't do Shadow Nova anytime soon because he has no Mana Forgers developed and he has no access to the Mana Tile. So right here we can start just pressuring him, developing a huge board, Dream Gazer, Jaxi. I decide to potentially hold on to Rite of the Emerald. It depends what we have going on, but like I said, this is sort of what we want. We want to just start developing a huge range of threats. And here I can start pushing in quite a bit of damage as well, since we're able to buff up Primus Fist with Dancing Blades. And I decided to try and buff up everything as well. So I decided to move Dancing Blades here, Primus Fist, I believe, in the middle, and I have Jaxi blocking his way off, so I'm sort of pushing him towards the Chaos Elemental as well. And this is what I mean. Like, Chaos Elemental is, like, even though it got pushed away super far away from the battle, like, you're going to have a lot of time, and it's still something your opponent has to worry about. It's just like when your opponent lures something, or when Abyssian lures something away. It's like you still have to worry about that threat if that game happens to go on fairly long. And it's nice as well since it's a minion that we can just sort of spread things out, so it's not as susceptible to the Shadow Nova. And we want to keep our things spread out fairly, at a good amount. Decided to empty my hand out because we have right at the Undervault, so we have ways to draw into more things. So here, obviously playing into Grasp of Agony fairly heavily, but I am perfectly fine if he wants to do that. Like, Jax, you'll still get out there, and he is going to still have to hit something with his face. So this is all right, and we can still push a ton of damage next turn as it is. So we're just trying to make him playing reactive, and we're also going to be trying to, once we get into the next turns, not play into Shadow Nova as much as we can. So he has the Spectral Blade, and he has Knight's Assassin. Have to worry about that as well. Didn't really play around that as much, but luckily he has to hit Dancing Blades with his face, so we still get in some damage. He decides to use Knight's Assassin to block Chaos Elemental off, so I can't run it up to and hit him with my face. And here I believe I totally missed lethal, and I played things in a really weird way where I gave him an extra turn. So what I should have done, I think, if I hit this with my face, this comes in, it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No, actually, what I should have done was use Knight's Arrow, hit this, Chaos Elemental, run up. Hit with my face first. Flameblood Warlock, that'd be 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, I totally missed lethal this turn because I'm bad. Because I'm bad. Especially when you get to these kinds of boards, like that's the thing. You have a lot of just ways to finish off the game. So you really want to look for those lethals. And here I just was a little bit too focused on just board control, and I was really worrying, okay, what if he Shadow Nova's next turn? How hard am I going to get hit by that? So those are the things I was thinking of. Or what if he Spectral Revenant's next turn? So pretty big misplay on my part. I'm not the strongest player, I know that. But, hopefully these decks, I can give you guys some good ideas for your own decks and things you want to use to the ladder to climb up yourself. And hopefully you guys can pilot these a little bit better than I can, which I have I have perfect confidence that you can do that. Actually, how did I miss lethal here? Oh yeah, I think I did that. I should have just hit with my face, Flameblood Warlock, and then I would have had lethal. Yep, that is how we do things. I just didn't want to take 4 damage, apparently. I don't know why. Especially with a Knight's Assassin change, very unlikely he could kill me at that point. So I totally failed there. But, you can sort of see you don't need much once you get a small board set up. And you have plenty of out-of-hand damage to just help finish your opponent off. So I spread things out to not play around Shadow Nova. But obviously missing lethal there, and he knew that. He knew that too, I'm sure. But you can create pressure like this to deny your opponent having those big Shadow Nova plays, because obviously Shadow Nova next turn would just kill him anyways. So this deck puts on a lot of pressure from different angles, and then you can sort of build up into those big bursty turns with Soulshatter Pacts and Saber Spines and Void Pulses and stuff like that. So that is what the deck wants. And obviously here we have a finisher, and we probably easily could have used right at the Undervault to potentially draw into like another Flameblood Warlock or Void Pulse. Like, those are the things you want to look for. But yeah, 2 wins. Totally failed on that last game, but these are just first impression games. This is what we do with decking around, just give you guys a little bit of a taste of the deck. So now we played 2 games with it. I really like the deck. It feels pretty good. It feels aggressive enough that it can go under decks like Shadow Nova. But it feels like there's potentials for just good value trades with Chaos Elemental, things like that, and ways to prolong the game where you can build up to good Soulshatter packs. Like Dancing Blades is hard to get rid of. Shadow Dancer can help against the Songhai matchups, and it's still good against Swarm Abyssian, since if they don't have a way to deal Shadow Dance and they have a lot of things on the board. They don't want to take all that damage and give me all that healing if they use those Wraithlings to trade into stuff. So it sort of gives them less value on those trades. But you're still aggressive enough where you can finish games off and just pressure your opponent. Obviously, there's a little bit of RNG involved with Chaos Elemental spawns and Dreamgazer spawns, but that's the thing. I don't think I would change too much with this deck. I'm still wondering how much I value the lures, and if I would rather have something like maybe Spectral Blade or Grasp of Agony. But lures are still good when we want to play more of an aggressive game, and especially just keep pressuring our opponent with damage. It allows us to just throw away a threat if we're able to feel like we're able to finish the game fairly quickly in those next couple of turns. We can just push away a big threat and then just keep going face. So that is an option for this deck. But overall, the deck felt really good. I do like the Rite of the Undervault because there are those turns where you will just like double Soulshatter Pact and Flame Blood or something like that crazy, and you can really empty your hand fairly quickly with how low curve the deck is, and it does help you find lethal. Alternatively, we could just make the deck more aggressive and swap out those Demonic Lures for something like Dark Seeds. That is an option as well. It just depends on how much we value that finisher, but being able to develop a small board and then go like Dark Seed into Soulshatter Pact and then just trade 3 things in, like that is a lot of damage, and you have plenty of out-of-hand damage as it is with Spectral Revenants, Saber Spines, Flameblood Warlocks, Void Pulses. Like, there's a lot of ways to just chip your opponent's health away and then just finish them off with a big turn. The deck is a little bit tougher to play because we're not a full face deck. You're just really trying to take those value trades and knowing when to trade, when to go face, and how to position yourself to set up those Soulshatter Pact turns. That's sort of the hardest part about playing a deck like this but I think it's a high payoff. And I wanted a deck that is fairly fast in the early ranks that we can just sort of push through and get to gold and get to the higher ranks as soon as possible. So, yeah, that is Soulshatter Zoo. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the games. I apologize for the misplays, but I'm just terror bad at this game. And, until next time, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, what you guys would change, if you guys play a Zoo deck as well in Abyssian. And, until next time, guys, hopefully you guys have a great night, day, morning, wherever you are, and I will talk to you guys later.